Hello, this is for our quality support group on Nouganu's Facebook page, and it's about ensuring that your curriculum plan makes sense. I'm Andrea Jackson. I work with training providers to achieve successful Ofsted inspections by helping them understand the real impact of their training provision on apprentices and implementing a process for improvement. Right, curriculum. So the one thing we do know that a curriculum needs to have a plan, doesn't it? It needs to have a start and it needs to have an end, and that start needs to be logical. There needs to be a logical. So we start with the easy bit first, the knowledge that is needed to enable them to go on to the next part of the curriculum, ensuring that there's understanding throughout. So we do one bit, we make sure that they understand. We go on to the next bit because that bit of knowledge that they understand enable them to do the next bit of knowledge. So that's sort of where we start from. I've got some notes here just in case. So if I look down, it is the fact I'm looking at my notes. Okay, then. So what we know now, because of the third lockdown, is that there's lots now we can't go and see our learners as easily as we did do. So whereas before it was quite easy to impart knowledge, test that knowledge, and then go off and see them do that practical behavior in the workplace that ensures that they not only can they do it, but they understand why they're doing it. That last bit has probably been kicked out in a lot of cases. It's not as easy to go and see. In some cases you can, because we've now got COVID protocols, but in a lot of cases it's not. So there needs to be a way of doing that assessment differently. Obviously, remotely is one way of doing it. However, the thing is about the curriculum, if we go back to the curriculum, is if we've had to make a change to that curriculum, is it there? Is it noted? Is your curriculum updated? Like the learning plan, the individual learning plan. So there are things that you have been able to do, but there are obviously things that you can't do. But your curriculum still needs to be logical, doesn't it? It's, even though it is easier to do theory, practice when we can, that's not really a logical way of learning it, because the problem with that is if we do theory, that the theory may not have been understood. One thing we do know about the learning patterns is that too much information is not necessarily stored in the right place. So what we do know from apprenticeships is that we learn, we practice, we learn, we practice. That way we get a really good knowledge. So those sorts of things we have to look at when we're looking at our curriculum. Now, what we can do is that obviously there may be a need to put a learner on a break in learning. Break-in learnings need to be, they need to be managed, don't they? You can't just put a learner on a break-in learning and leave it at that. If there's no other solution, a break-in learning has to be put into place, but there has to be an end. There has to be what sort of communication is going to take place. Does your learner really know what's happening? And that's the big thing, because I think with the very first lockdown, when everything like the earth fell apart, it's flat, by the way. The earth fell apart and training stopped. In some cases, the learner was never told. So the training providers were sort of like stopping and going on to furlough, working everything out. But the learners weren't part of that journey. And I know of cases where learners were contacting the awarding bodies to find out what was happening. Can you imagine the stress that somebody is going into when they've got to be talking to the awarding body? How sad, how awful. You will be the learner's in a situation whereas they're also in an unsecure place, and then the learning just stops. So there has to be that communication, and I do think there is now, but it needs to be thought about. The other thing to remember is obviously the individual learning plan has to be updated. It is a working document and it needs to be individualized to that learner. Saying to a learner that you're going to be doing unit because everybody else is doing it is not the way. It has to be individual. And I'm not saying this because this is what Ofsted says. Thank God Ofsted say it and they agree. But the point is, this is how people learn. This is when we really put the learner at the heart of everything. And that's what we should be doing. Because if we put the learner at the heart of everything, we are getting it right. If the learner knows exactly where they are in the program, exactly what they've still got to do, exactly how they're going to do it, they know about any changes that are happening, because they will be happening, but they know about those changes. If all that is going on, the learner's happy, the learner is satisfied, and anybody who's talking to that learner will hear that the learner knows. The learner is in control of their own learning. They are responsible for their own learning. And do you know what? They're happy with it. They can absolutely see the rationale behind everything that's going on. Okay, so it's sort of background. It's like the foundation, isn't it, of the stuff that we're always taught about when we started to be a trainer. Remember those heady days and you brought your first learner through and you were just so excited. It's that really, isn't it? It's remembering that excitement. It's remembering the joy, that time that your learner went, oh gosh, yeah, I remember that. Think back, and you was just like you came home and you thought, oh my gosh, that's a different thing, isn't it? You came home, you didn't leave your home at the moment, but that's the excitement. Remember that excitement. Go back to those feelings of why you wanted to be a trainer, and just always think about that. So that's all I've got to say. All I want you to do, please, is like our live. If you do, please comment. Have a look at our quality group page. If you want to be part of it, just ask us and we'll make you part of it. Any comments, we really do love. We love a comment. Thank you so much for listening. If you're listening live, thank you very much. And if you're listening in the comfort of your own home, which I'm sure you probably are, again, thank you so much. We really do appreciate all the support that we're getting. And we will see you soon, and have a fantastic week.